Hello everyone! Over the next couple of weeks in English, we are going to be exploring poetry. I've chosen one poet in particular whose work we will begin to explore and hopefully enjoy in the lessons to come. So, what is poetry? Pause now and have a think about how you would describe what a poem is. Poetry is a type of artistic writing. It attempts to stir a reader's imagination or emotions. Poets do this by carefully arranging language for its meaning, sound, and rhythm. Some poems, such as nursery rhymes, are simple and humorous. Other poems try to express some truth about life or to tell a story. Because poetry appears in so many forms and styles, it makes it really difficult to define exactly. One thing that makes poems different from other types of writing is their structure. I'm not going to explain exactly what I mean by this just yet. I want you to have a look at these poems and see if you can see how it looks different to a normal story you might read in a storybook. The words in a poem are arranged in lines and groups of lines called stanzas. For example, here is the first stanza of the poem From a Railway Carriage by Lewis Stevenson. Rhythm. Poets use rhythm to create various effects. Some syllables or parts of words receive more emphasis naturally. For example, hedges and ditches. The j and the ch sound are stressed more than the other sounds. This creates a particular rhythm. A poet's rhythm is called its meter. Sound. Poets also use patterns of sound. Some poems rhyme, or use two or more words that end with the same sound, such as hat and bat. A poem may repeat sounds in many other ways. For example, in High as a Kite, the long I is repeated. In Stroke of Luck, the k sound is repeated. Alliteration is another way that poems repeat sounds. Can you remember what alliteration is? A group of words that start with the same sound is called alliteration. For example, dark, dangerous day. See if you can come up with 3 words that use alliteration now. Figures of speech. A figure of speech is a way to express the meaning of something without saying it directly. You'll find that metaphors are used a lot in poetry. A metaphor can be used to compare something unfamiliar or difficult to understand with something familiar. For example, the snow is a white blanket. Now, we know that the snow isn't really a white blanket, but it's a great way to explain what it looks like to someone who didn't know. Over the next 2 weeks, we will be exploring the life and work of one poet in particular. His name is Edward Lear, and he is a poet who was born in 1812 in England. I chose this poet because he's best known for his humorous, nonsensical poems, and I thought that we could all do with a bit of laughter in our lives right now. The first poem by Edward Lear that we are going to look at is called The Owl and the Pussycat. By the end of this week, we will build up to learning the entire poem. We will then create changes and make our own version of this poem. The Owl and the Pussycat by Edward Lear. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money wrapped up in a £5 note. The owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar. Oh lovely pussy, oh pussy my love, what a beautiful pussy you are, you are, you are. What a beautiful pussy you are. Pussy said to the owl, You elegant fowl, how charmingly sweet you sing. Oh, let us be married, too long we have tarried. But what shall we do for a ring? They sailed away for a year and a day to the land where the bong tree grows. And there in a wood a piggy-wig stood, with a ring at the end of his nose, his nose, his nose, with a ring at the end of his nose. Dear pig, are you willing to sell for 1 shilling your ring? Said the piggy, I will. So they took it away and were married next day by the turkey who lives on the hill. They dined on mince and slices of quince, which they ate with a runcible spoon. And hand in hand, on the edge of the sand, they danced by the light of the moon, the moon, the moon. They danced by the light of the moon. Your task today is to write a story map to help you to remember the first stanza of this poem. I'm going to do one myself too, so you can take some ideas from mine and use it to help you to create your own story map. Remember, just like in school, it doesn't matter if your picture looks perfect. This is just to help you remember the language so that you can recite the poem without having to look at the words. Hopefully, you might not even need to look at your story map. So once you've practiced a few times, see if you can remember without it. Here is my story map for you to have a look at. Read along with me if you like. It might help to use actions to help you remember too. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money wrapped up in a £5 note.